Hello everyone, and welcome to another stream. Welcome back. So today we're going to do a little bit more building of the town builder game in Wonderland Engine I was working on for a couple of streams. And yeah, today the plan is to implement a little bit of a game manager type class as a core that should kick things off. And STGD, welcome. How are you doing? Then I want to add a little bit more tile variation. We should slowly start looking into adding trees and those kind of things. And then I want to start working on improving the world generation and having a look at the things I've done in my House of the Dead game. And there I've implemented something that is using some steps, just iterations, and taking a flow from one step to the next, and just implementing different functions to expand that code. So right now it is a just one function that does a couple of things to the world, and I think it would be nicer to separate it out and make it into more of a thing, because in the end it will be pretty much the core of the game, and I think it will be useful for other people to see how something like that would work. So the goal of this little game is to... Wait, am I not... Oh, you are hearing me on the second monitor. Right. For a second I thought my audio was off. But it should be okay. I have been messing around with things which I've not implemented, but I didn't have much time to really go into updating the stream yet. That's why it's all pretty basic and simple, and so I will be not streaming for a couple of weeks after this week, and then when we get back, I want to get into a regular schedule. Well, actually, when I get back in, it's already September then. JS13K is going on, and I need to build a new game in 13 kilobytes again. So yeah, we'll be streaming that as much as possible. So these streams are basically a test to get back into streaming, mostly for that period. And then we continue this game afterwards. And the goal of this little game is to show how things like this can be built. But let's switch to the to my screen. I think that's okay. So yeah, this is what I want to do today. So the basic game manager, a little bit more tile variation, and then if there's time left, I want to do a little bit of improvement of the world. And the tile variation is basically a step up to the world generation. because we need to have a way to create the variation anyway. I said earlier, in an earlier stream, that I wasn't going to do much in between streams. I already broke that promise a little bit. There was one thing that was really bugging me, and that was the casting of the rays. I used to cast a ray... Oh, I didn't even open the project yet. Let me quickly do that. So I was using the ground plane to cast a ray. I just realized we can even remove that ground plane. But I modified it, and now we can just actually select the correct tiles. Well, there's nothing to select yet, but the hovering works. So that's something I did in between streams, because it's always hard to focus when you're live streaming, and you have to do so many things at the same time. And there are some things that need to be improved. But it's a pretty... A different shader? No, I think I did... Oh, it looks different a bit. Yes, I made one change to... I changed the shader of the material. I thought it was looking too flat. So for now, I changed it to a funk shader. I was actually trying to get the shadows to work, but that's not... But wasn't really looking good. So... But the colors are a bit more harsh, I think. I was also looking into the chunking. But eventually I decided to not go and chunk for a while, unless the game is really playable and we need to go outside this area. And at that point we can decide one of two things. One, we can make this an island and just end at the sea. That would be fun. So you have to just play and build a city on this little island. Or we build the chunks that then. Right now it's just one big chunk and it's doable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was looking into the really big ones like Civilization. I think from Civilization 5 on, it started using hexagon tiles for the world. But I believe that uses some sort of chunking. I have no idea. But there's a lot of games that do something with chunks or whatever. But for now it's fine. We can pretty much handle this amount of tiles, and we can create the world generation and do things based on the tiles. And we'll see how far we can take this. For now it's fine. So let's get into that game manager. I was thinking of building this whole thing in off stream as well, but one, I didn't have time to do it, and two, it's more fun to do it on stream. So most games use some sort of main core component, and there is a very nice example. If you know the Shapes game, Shapes.io, it's actually a game that's available on Steam, but the first version was open source, and they branched off the original Shapes and made it into a community edition. And this version is still being worked on, and it's one of the few games that are built in JavaScript or TypeScript. They are actually slowly converting things over to TypeScript. That is actually a big game. And it has everything in there. So it's not a AAA game, but it is like a real game. A game that is purchasable on Steam. Even this game, I think, was purchasable on Steam, which is crazy. A JavaScript game that is open source, which you can purchase on Steam. Shapes 2 is also available, but that's not open source anymore, I think. But I often use this game as a reference, and this also has a GameCore GameCore function. I think it was called core. Funny, I lost it. Is it in game? Yeah, here it is. Deprecated stuff. Funny. But yeah, this is something that is just this. I use this game for inspiration, just to see how they did this. Not to copy things, just to see how they solve things. And in my own library, there are some ideas that are coming from this. I have an global event type system that is coming from this. Square is welcome. Yes, now a bit of a surprise stream. I was thinking of doing a lunch stream today again, but I was too busy doing other things and breaking my mind over stuff. Well, I guess everybody in the chat knows what I'm talking about, but I'm not sure if I can talk about it, so I better not. But it's fun stuff, and I wanted to do something different now, just to clear my mind a little bit. But as I said, I use this as a reference a bit. And one of the things this game does is also having this core thing and a root. And that's also something that might be interesting to do. So what I like about JavaScript or TypeScript, and I don't like about... What I like about TypeScript is nowadays that you can have the types. But you can get away with some things. So this game root has all the settings and stuff in there. We might just use something similar. Now I was wondering before the stream, who creates this and where is it created? That's always a challenging idea. Who starts the game? So they have an in-game state, and that's creating the new game core. Interesting. That's an interesting thing, that they just have a game state that is the core and the application. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do this differently. I want my game core to be the core. And... No, it's not multiplayer, but even in a single player game, there's often one place that kicks things off. One place that I often use is either the index.js or the app.js, because that's what gets loaded first. And that was something I was thinking about now too, to just instantiate the first. So it's a singleton, right? But it has to be called the first time. So what I was thinking is passing it a config, and that would be the first thing that is in there, just the default config. And at a later point we can maybe insert, say we want to release some crazy games, we want to load the save games from Crazy Games and do those kinds of things. And that's also done in the index and the app.js. I think in the app.js that is loaded. And so it would be nice if we already start a little game here. Maybe we do need save games at some point. We do need save games. So I know I will be using the up SDK from Wonderland Engine to do that. And probably just using a cookie save game or something. But you want to play the game and then continue at a later point. So I think this should be instantiate the core. And I have not figured out how to do it because now it's a singleton. But we can just add a public init. That's what I was thinking of. With a config, maybe. Let's invent a game config. We can later add a save game to this too. What I also want to do, as a next step, we have this grid layout, for example. And this is basically what the level is. And that was something I was running into when I was trying out to get the chunks to work as well. I needed some place that is the root thing of all. Often it's a component, because components get well, initialized and loaded when the engine starts. But sometimes you want to have things like a save game even before that. Well, we're going to export is it the type or a class? I think we can do a type. And we... let me think. We have this global config already. So maybe this should also be something that is loaded there. Or we can make this the default config. Let's set a property here that we know that it's initialized. So we can, at other points, check if the game is initialized. So, yeah. I am thinking about an issue I ran into at some point with having the index and the app separated. So you end up with different files and different scopes. And the downside of an actual or of a static class like this is that it's inside one of the scopes. So maybe for now we should just do it in the index. Or we can just put it in the global scope, which is not always the best thing to do. Now we might need the engine object. Also, one thing I noticed when building the chunks is that I wanted to have a root object. So we needed to pass the engine object around. So it'd be nice if just this GameCore has an instance of the engine. That way we have a single place to get the engine object when we need it. Yeah. Now I want this to be loaded before the components. We're just going to do it like this here. And we do it like this. It's funny that this file is formatted differently by default than my own formatting. Every time we make a change to this, it will... As soon as I save, but as soon as I build, I think it will... reset formatting. Yeah, so now it's back to this. Oh well. Doesn't matter. So now we have the GameCore instance initialized. And one of the reasons that I want to do this, I want to have this place where I can just add stuff for those global events I was talking about before. I'm just going to open another instance, and this is my Sorskoot Wonderland components. This is an open source library. I think it's open source npm package, and this has all kinds of basic functions I often use in my games or applications. And this has a signal class. And this is for just adding events globally. So say we want to have a public it is, let's say, unloaded. And it's a single of void is fine, I guess. Can it be void? Can it be? It can't be void. No, it has to be an array. So now other places can subscribe to this signal or send events on this signal. And one of the things I am hoping to solve with this is this timeout. So what we can do, for example, is track what needs to be loaded, and if everything is loaded, then we send this event. Can we just do something like this? So we dispatch the event on a signal. There's nothing we should get from it. It's just an empty signal. Is there something I can override here? No. This is an interesting one. We have this here. Oh, my mic is bugging me again. A little jack that is built in a microphone that my headset is plugged in is broken or something inside the microphone. I really need to get a new one. I do want to have one of those Shure microphones, but then I need to. This is a USB microphone, and that's an XLR. That's one of the reasons I want it. I have another XLR microphone for my saxophone, and I cannot use it, so I need to have an XLR interface too. But yeah, buying a good microphone and a good audio interface, it's not the cheapest. But in this start, we can say GameCore now, and we do instance. We need to import it. Instance dot unload it. We say add, and we need to give it a receiver and an object. So the object can do this for the scope, and we do on game on this dot on game loaded. Declare method, I think it's good, though what this generated is not correct. Let's make this private. And I make it an arrow function. And this should be, I think, stupid. Should be really a signal receiver. No, I don't think it should be this. No, that create method is a Visual Studio Code. Oh, that's not the right key. That's a Visual Studio Code thing. So you have all kinds of those little things. Yeah, it's gone now because we have something. But I've used this before, but I forgot how to use it. I use it all the time. But now I can't remember how to use it. Arguments of T, yeah. Now I need to find something where I use it. I didn't here. Darn. Did I do it here? I think I did it here. No. I did. See, it's not really that complicated. You add things and then it works. I think, but see, I think I'm just overly complicated myself. So it doesn't need anything because it didn't add anything. Like, you need to figure out a way to just do this. I can even do this. And it still works. So what I want to do is... in the init. Can I do that? I cannot do that. So I cannot subscribe to that component before it's loaded. So these kind of things are always tricky. So I have to have this tile prefab. I probably have to have a component type version of this too, which I often do. I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to think of a better thing to do. So if I have a look at this, it was the game I did for the Game Dev TV Jam a while ago. Oh, here I separated the global events just into a completely separate class. That's also a nice thing. I think Shapes even does that too. I closed Shapes. Let's open Shapes again. I think Shapes has something like that too. Singleton Factory. Oh, it has this does even more crazy things. I'm thinking real hard. I do not want to overcomplicate things right now. I know I probably at some point in the future I need to do something with it. So basically, we can call done loading. It must be initialized. Let's add a note here. Add a list of checks. And when they are all done, we fire this event. Well, let's add it to do. We'll figure this out later. I think that should be a game development or software development paradigm. We fix this later. That's we fixed it later. Driven development is what I often do. updates here. Ooh, a new version of Copilot. But we need to have a core component for this too. There's no other way. So a new file, and we call this GameCore component. Normally, I won't add the component name for a component, but since we have a normal version and a component version, I add the component to, well, be able to see the difference. I have a VS Code extension with snippets that I always use. And this is the basic component. I always name my files, what's it called, kebab case, with the dashes in between. And based on that, I wrote my snippet in such a way that it creates a GameCore component class by just extracting the names from this and also keeping that type name correct. This saves me a lot of time. So when this is started, this will let's see what the suggestion is. That's not correct. I do need the core because that we need to have those kind of synced. As I said earlier, I had the engine object passed in here. But right now I'm starting to doubt if we really need it because we have the component here and we can, if we sync those, we can just have an object of this component in there and always get the engine through that. And I'm not even sure we need the engine, but I've seen that sometimes or often you would need the engine in other classes than the core, or than just your components. Unless you're making a very simple thing that's mostly visual driven. Anyway, for now we don't need the init, and I don't know if we need to update. But this will check if the prefabs are loaded. So we do need the tile prefabs. That is a singleton. And I think by the time this is started, we should have this instance. And we can say on prefabs loaded. We can add a function. And we do this on tile prefabs loaded. And this is the correct way of doing this. This except, I just realized I want this private. So I always want functions and everything as private as possible. Only if I need to access something from the outside, I would make something public. If it's a property, I would give it a I make a private field, and then a property would only a getter, so I can only get it, not set it. Only if I need to call a function from the outside, I would make it public. I would try to make things as private as possible. I sometimes forget. I sometimes add public as a shortcut to get things done. But most of the time, I just want to keep things as private as possible. And by doing that, you kind of prevent your game or your application from becoming big spaghetti. You spam static. Yes. That's also a way to get things to work. But you might end up with lots of spaghetti code. I also use static here. It's in this one, for example. This is a class with some static functions. But it's because this is a utility class which does not have anything specific in it. And even that, often I won't even use aesthetics in a class like this. Do I have that? My library is still open? No. I'm showing too much. But for example, I have this utilities library. This is export functions directly. That's the way of doing it. I also have this lerp. Also exporting just functions that I can call. And I think I often, but I don't see it here. Something I also do quite often is just something like this. So here we have the math. This is well, coming from Unity mostly. F and FX. This is also coming from Unity. There's also when importing code from Unity to the web, you often run into issues where you come across a function and it doesn't exist. And there are open source libraries that show how this works, but often I just export a const instead of static functions. It looks the same, but it's not a static function. And actually, I think it's even nicer to have... oh, here I actually did an object too. I thought I exported a function. Yeah. Oh, this is old. This is what... I didn't even bypass it. So before Wonderland Engine had the nice clone function, I had my own clone function here. But it's removed and deprecated. But yeah, just WUtils with some random functions that I often need. Pretty useful. Where we go. Let's get back to where we were. This way we probably won't get anywhere. Let's close the stuff to the right. So when the prefabs are loaded, so this is the prefabs is a class. Well, let me show that too. It's also in my library. And it's a abstract class for loading the prefabs. I noticed that in a lot of code I was writing, I did the same thing over and over and over again. It always looked pretty much the same. And it basically just loads a binary name, a file, a binary file, and then instantiate that. And if it's loaded, then you want to spawn in specific stuff to clone it from that library, reparent it. The code was always the same. So we just created an abstract class for it. And the only thing you need to override is the prefab name, because that differs from prefab to prefab. And then you end up with this. Because it has properties. You want to add this. And you give it a name. And then it needs to return this prefab's name. I even wonder if I use the any of the properties. No, there aren't even any properties. But this would just makes it so you can use the prefabs. And the prefabs are stored in this styles.wp file. If it wants to load. What's happening? Oh, I broke something. That's... So sometimes when doing the game development or development as I'm doing now, where I write a piece of code that's broken and then fix it and then write something that's broken, just to get my mind going. Like I did with the config, for example. I had the game config object. I know I need a game object config object here, I think. So that's why I just write it first and then fix it later. Anyway, so the prefabs are loaded, and I want the game to do nothing else. It needs to wait before it's loaded. Whatever happens, we cannot do anything before the prefabs are loaded. And there will be more types of prefabs, probably. Maybe we add sounds later, and we want to wait for the sounds to load. We can do anything we want, but we need to wait before everything is loaded. Maybe we add a load screen or something, if it's taking too much time. So now we need to go into the GameCore, get that thing, the instance, and say, well, we're done loading. Let's do it nice and assume we are going to load more. So I'm going to add an enum, and we call this assets to load, and we have tile prefabs. Is this the best way of doing this? I don't know. Done loading, assets to load. How do we know if everything is done loading? What I was thinking of, just if something is done loading, we call this function. If everything is loaded, we dispatch the unloaded, and then the game is loaded. So we need to keep track of what is loaded. And if everything is loaded, no, that's not what I want. It's almost what I want. Assets to load. It's a fine name, but I don't think I do an array, because I want to create something that has everything that I want to load already in there, and then just change it. So maybe a map would be better. Of assets to load in a boolean, and then here we do it like this. This is exactly what I was thinking. So then when we get here, we do, well, we load the asset, we set it to true. And that's the list of checks, actually. So we can even remove the to-do. Now we need to figure out if all assets are loaded. And I think we can do an if and say this. And do AI-driven development. By the way, this is not standard standard VS Code IntelliSense that does this trick. I'm not sure if it's in the release version of VS Code yet. I'm not following the release version anymore. I switched to Insiders mainly for Copilot, and it has this. It's called NAS, but I forgot what it stands for. New suggestion. Next NES, next edit suggestion, I think it's called. And it's basically tracking down and give you a suggestion based on your code base, based on what it knows of other code, and just give a suggestion. And based on this done loading function, it probably knows what we wanted and just comes with an okay selection. Oh, you have that too, okay. I have a lot of things in there. The downside is that NES does not use the Copilot instructions file, or didn't use it yet. Maybe it's because it needs to be fast, but it often starts giving suggestions for 3JS, for example, but that doesn't make any sense. Now we need to say what is done loading, and we say assets to load the tile prefabs. So this is the tile prefabs. Cool. Then when everything is done loading, now I'm starting to wonder if we actually need to have the signal here, or we can do a normal event. Because since we have this normal class, we don't have to do anything specific. We can just subscribe to the GameCore thing. And just do something similar as this. I think we're just going to switch to the default. Not sure if it needs... So now it's a different type of emitter, but it's... Yeah, it's not dispatch, it's emit or something. Notify. Similar. And... we don't need to give it a context. I actually kind of forgot why I needed to have the context. It's probably because then you can add a function here and it would set the context to it. It's just a little bit more generic. Maybe I should make that optional at some point. But now this code has changed. It's using the retain emitter. And now we could do create grid right here. And remove this timeout. I wish there was a VS Code extension that did this nicely for me. So I often want my functions in a specific order. I want to have my publics first, then the privates. And I don't think there is a VS Code extension that does that. I know for C# I used ReSharper in the past. And that had an option to do that and to go really deep into formatting and really let you just customize the way you want to have your files ordered. But there are exceptions, for example. I do want to have these together. This is a private property, private field with a public property, and a private field with a public property. And I want to have this together. And if I would just randomly order things, public and private, these would be separate from each other. So that's something that's pretty hard to do. You need to somehow detect that this is connected. Maybe I'll write an extension for it. If I have time at some point in my life. Yeah, let's check if this works. So we go... It's not running. Let's open the browser and let's see. Failed to load download open bin. GameCore is not defined. Ah. This index is a JavaScript file. I think technically we could make this into a TypeScript file, right? It's the advanced settings. I think we could name this TS. It's already... Now it probably has created a new file for me here with the TS. It even breaks. That's an interesting one. Let's just delete the JS and use the TS file. I wonder, I think this should be just be JS, that should work, but it's probably going to... Right, that's something else. I need to have my imports outside this. And this is probably a config thing. Does that fix it? Yes. The option allow importing TS extensions can only be used when either no emit or emit declaration only is set. Okay. Which is interesting. Since import paths would not be resolvable at runtime in JavaScript output files. The expectation here is that the resolver, your bundler, a runtime, or some other is going to make these imports between TS files work. Okay. What would happen if we just do that? Set no emit true. And why is this model not working? Must be equal to node next. Oh, this should be node next then. No. Should be node next. Oh, wait. It's an unknown word. So the blue squigglies is a new plugin I'm trying, and I'm not too happy about it. So I often make some typos, and I want to capture those, but... And that's because it's blue. Node next is not a correct word. But should this be node next then? And I also actually want to have this. Let's see if we can just fix this. Compile options. Let's make this as strict as possible. Allow JS. I'm going to set it explicitly to false. I know it's a default value. Or not. Is it not the default value? Okay. We probably get errors now. See, I cannot use the I cannot use the any function anymore. See, now we have a lot of errors. And I like that. What? You like errors? Yes, I like errors. What's wrong here? My cursor. So get component could return null. We can do this. Wait, this. Just to force it in. Which is fine, I guess. We probably get more hex. Can we just force it like... No. Interesting. So now we have to start explicitly forcing it in. This is going to change anyway. But I like being strict. Castle object is possibly undefined. Grid get tile by ID. So what we actually should do, if not castle tile, throw castle not found in the grid, which means the castle is not created. New object is hex. New tile could be null because... No, new tile could not be null. Hex could be null. So we spawn in a tile. Yeah, spawning a tile based on this... enum in the tile map. So tile map is this thing. And it's basically just a mapping between an enum and the tile names. I know I can make this into strings, but I don't like my enums to be strings. I often just make sure they're numbers. So in this case, hex can be undefined. And that can only happen if we try to place a tile that is not set. Can this be undefined? No, we do need a tile type. So it's a bit weird. Let's force it in. Let's quickly check our GameCore. Is that correct? See, this is correct. Let's remove that unused signal one. Well, let's remove... Do we need anything? Well, let's leave these. We probably need them later. Okay, let's check if this works now. It doesn't load anything, so we probably have another error somewhere. We don't. Okay, we missed something. Even with all those, I know what we're missing. We didn't add that class to this scene. Call this core. Let's add another empty object. Do we have more managers? I don't know yet. We're just going to leave this. We're going to add it here. Add component. And that's the game core component. It doesn't do anything else, but we need it anyway. So now... So now we're not waiting on the timeout. You see it's even loading faster now because it's not waiting on the 1 second timeout anymore. It's just immediately, as soon as everything is loaded, it continues. Which is great. So that's basically, I think, what we needed for now for this game component. And then later on we can just go from here. I quickly think. No, I'm just going to set this to done, a basic game manager. Let's commit and push these changes. Quickly check hex grid layout. Let's quickly check the hex grid layout if there is some red things in here. Remove line. There's a line removed here. Nothing else. Okay. Implemented basic game core. Commit and push. We're not going to create a pull request yet because we're going on with the next item on the list. We'll look at the to-do for today. Actually, we should do it like this. That doesn't work. Nice and purple. A little bit more tile variation. Right. One of the things I'd like. Go to the tiles. I have this castle. But there could be trees as well. So let me go and quickly grab the assets, if I can find them. I think it's the K kit, this one. So if we look at nature, this is what's in here. We have trees, rocks, trees, stumps. And pre-assembled ones. Now, I don't think we need the pre-assembled ones. What shall we do? Shall we add a simple single tree? So one thing I was thinking of is creating different densities of forest. Just because it looks nice. But I think for now we're just going to add one single tree on a tile. Or, on the other hand, it doesn't really matter. because we can easily change things. So we go into the GLTF. I think I used decoration, nature. Ooh, clouds. That would be funny, just having clouds passing by. But there's a lot of trees. Trees cut, tree single. So we have this tree. And we have tree B, which is this one. Maybe eventually we can use different densities or something for the trees. Quick check what's going on here. Oh, nothing too important. Okay, sorry. Or are we going to do... Oh, there's even... Oh, there's large trees. So this is large trees. Yeah, for now it doesn't really matter. I think we're just going to pick one of these trees. I kind of like the square ones. So I'm going to do the... What's the difference between small and large? Just the amount of trees? Yeah, let's do large. Okay. Copy this. Let's go to assets, tiles. Oh wait, I just can drag it in. So we have building castle. At some point, I'm probably going to split this tiles up thing into multiple files. Maybe we should do that right now. Because the more we add, the more we need to move over. We can just go in and do a resources one. Set up new prefabs, wait for them to load, add that whole kind of thing. I think that would be nice. So what I'm going to do is just go in here and just copy this file, tiles copy. I'm going to name this resources. Oh, that's interesting. This is incorrect. I'm amazed it even works. So the workspace main is set to February 2025. This was the old project and I renamed the whole thing. So we should have settings here. Name Town Builder. It's interesting that this works. So I can add this in here. And now we have a town builder or a resources one here. Now this has, because I copied it, it has the same resources. So we get a lot of errors. It's called tiles. That's probably because it is called tiles here. Resources. Main scene. Do we need to change more? JavaScript. It does not have any settings. Output town builder bundle. No, I think this should be fine. I think it's interesting that even though that name is incorrect, it still works. It broke this structure. Do we have the material still in here? Huh. This still works. Tile still works. Resource is broken. I don't really care. It somehow lost the texture. And the diffuse lighting is different. Huh. It has an ambient color. The rest is just white. Okay. Fine by me. An empty thing and call this resource trees. Or single tree. I don't know yet. We just call it tree for now. I'm going to remove these objects in a second. We're going to go to tiles, tree, large, drop it on top of this. So this is the large trees, and we can save just in case. Select everything else, delete. So now we have these trees. Now the material is off because it imported a new material, but we can just grab this one. And you all should use the same material. Now this is as no lighting except that ambient, so it's all, well, not too much. But this name, the resource tree, at some point I want to do a code or a Wonderland plugin that just takes everything from a root and just creates an enum or a list or something that I can get type safety of these names in my VS Code, but that's not there yet. Anyway, we need to have this added to the prefabs. We have tiles, and I'm going to add a new one called resources. Now I don't have that script yet. But as we've seen before, you have this tile prefab. I'm going to go new resources, resource prefabs. Keep the naming a bit consistent. And in this case, I'm just going to copy everything and just rename resource prefabs, resource prefabs, and that's resources bin. And I think this is it. Let's save. Let's go to the editor. So now we should have that resources prefabs here. There we go. Save. Then that's not the right project. I'm just going to close the other projects for now, just in the way anyway. So let's close everything for now and let's find this one, because this has that load, and we want to say, well, that resource resource prefabs instance load on resource prefabs loaded do the same thing, except we need to add this here and need to add it here. Now I wonder if we can, well, technically we would even automate it, but an empty window streamer space that blocks some part of the screen, Wonderland Engine. Yes. Oh, right. Yeah, I just realized that. So I moved. In the past, I had my camera. I'm looking at the stream or the OBS window. I had the camera in the upper or the lower corner. But because I'm constantly typing there now, I moved it to the top. But you cannot see what's up here in this corner anymore. I have been thinking of doing or changing some of these things. So what I can do is create a plugin, put it there, and then move this down. Haha, fixed it. It doesn't remember that it's there, I think, if I refresh the this kind of works. And now if I make this a bit bigger like so, there we go. Fixed it. I technically could do the same thing in VS Code too. I have been thinking of in VS Code of adding some part of the UI to put the camera in, just to make to give it its own space. Oh well, I have a lot of ideas I want to see if I can integrate into the stream again, but that it will probably be something for after JS13K. After that, we'll be doing some meta streams. Okay, let's check. If we run now, it breaks. Why? I missed something. I don't have errors. Bundles are loaded. Are the binaries loaded? What are this? Oh. So we should see the tiles and the resources. So both binaries get loaded. Resources and tiles. So that's working. We have these. Oh, when you change a file, you need to save it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It cannot read set position world. So I definitely broke something. I think it might be because this resource was called tiles at some point. So maybe I just need to save this to rebuild it. Nope. It is done loading. What did I break? Activate. Wait, why is resources in my tiles? Tile prefabs. When I look at the instance, object name. It says resources. I have a hunch. I have a feeling. I have a feeling I ran into this a while ago too, a long time ago. And that is because the base class is a singleton. The inherited one is not. And when you do a get instance, it's different. And I vaguely remember running into something like that before. Now, these are not the things I want to run into when doing live streams. Trying to figure out how my component library should work. But I think that is the case. And it's tough to fix on a stream because this is using a library. So the only way to fix it is moving or updating the library. I don't really feel like doing that. I wonder what would happen if I just do see, you cannot do this. Say I would change it to something like this. Oh, that's too much. That. Say I would make it like this. And internally, I would make it like this. I have an idea. I have an idea how we can get around this for now. I'm just going to grab the prefab component base class. I'm just going to add it to here for now. Prefab base.ts. We drop this in here. This is something I can just ignore for now, because this is Sorskoot Wonderland components. Right, why not? I think it's what I said. Oh well. Okay, so now it's pretty much the same, except it's different. It's in a different location. So what I can do now is just not use the one from my library, but use this one. I can remove this and say, well, I want to use // utils / prefab base. So now it's a different class, but it's the same, pretty much. But now I can do something like this, which is not possible because I have not implemented it, but I can do of T. And now instance should be a T. Second type parameters. T extends. Static commands. Oh darn, because it is. Well, I don't think that would matter. Well, this cannot be T. Can I just do this? No. I can do this. It's also a static. But this is not going to work. It has to be static. Otherwise, we need a reference to the thing. We just want to do instance. I broke my code. I ran into something I ran into a long time ago. And I forgot about it. So when I do I create this base class. But the thing is, this original base class is a singleton. Well, it's basically this without these any's. Let me revert these changes for now, so I can show the original class. So it's basically this class. But this instance is of prefab base. Oh, here it sets it. When it's initialized, it sets it. But since this is a prefab base class, the instance is of prefab base and not of the prefab that I want to have. You know what? Let's ask AI. Maybe AI knows. I have this base class that this singleton base class that contains this instance construction, but when I inherit from this, I always get the same. When I inherit from this multiple times, I always get the same instance of prefabs base. Is there a way to make the singleton of the type that uses this abstract class? Oh, that's an interesting idea. But it's not going to work because it cannot use T. Whoa, it scrolled all the way. I think. I thought it said it cannot do a generic in a static before. Apparently it can do it if it's like this. Okay, but now it needs to set the instance in a different way. No need to set instance here anymore. Why not? Oh, wait, yeah. It cannot do this. I cannot instantiate a class like this. Because the component gets the engine and stuff passed from Wonderland Engine. So this is not going to work. But I can move that to init. Type prefab base is not assignable to new prefab base. Prefab, but no match signature. New. Yes, it's not new. I think it just should be T, right? T is not assignable to parameter new T prefab base. Map new prefab base. No, it's not new prefab base. But I don't think this should be. I think this can be a set of prefab base, right? Or does it have to be a set? I thought this has a get as well. No, it's not. It's not new. But I don't understand completely why it wants that new in there. So new this, but it just maps this to this. So it checks if it has this, and then if it does not, it adds this to this. It's this code is weird, but let's close the AI for now. Did it say anything else? Well, maybe it's a start. So it needs to just extend prefab base, and instead of this, we don't need this. And we're just going to use the other resource prefab is also going to use this one for now. I mean, if this works, it's fine by me. I don't really care. Now it does not have an instance. What is that? Wait. Get instance. Oh, yeah, I need to do that because I need to give it a type. So this is going to do get instance, but I think it can invert a type. No. Oh. This context of type resource is not assignable to method this. Which is kind of weird because it literally is. It is extending prefab base. I'm probably going to just bypass this whole thing for now. Again. By the way, this is something I was struggling with a while back too. I think there might be even some. No. I wanted to create a reusable singleton class, base class at some point, where I can just say, well, I want this to be a singleton. But I'm already making this way more complex than it needed to be. Let's ask one more question. How can I make a reusable singleton based class in TypeScript? Maybe there's a way. Exactly the same thing. The issue I have is that I cannot instantiate like this the object I want to create a singleton of is a Wonderland component. It seems like you might save only little code per singleton. Yes. Well, I'm saving a lot of code per singleton, but to make it a single, I mean, it's mostly this part that loads the prefab and this whole spawn routine. That's what I want to reuse. And it has to be a singleton, because otherwise I need to pass the prefab around all the time. Maybe at some point I need to switch things around and create a one global thing where I add these things to, and Um, one second. Which is created by Wonderland Engine. And this passes all kinds of properties to the constructor. Out of my viewing, I don't care. So let this ramble on for a moment. So this is my whole prefab implementation, and I really like that. And I don't pass anything to the constructor, because as soon as it initializes, I check. Well, that's not the right code. Let me check the correct one. Interesting. I thought I did this different. I thought I would check it. Normally I would check this in my... There's actually a bug in the thing. So let me show you how I normally do the singletons. Is this a singleton? This is a singleton class. It's not a single component. This is also a singleton component. I have the static instance and I return it here. And what I do is if init is called and there is an instance, I give an error. Because in this case, it must be that you have set it up twice in your scene. If it's only once in a scene, and this way I can just let Wonderland do the initialization and set things up, and I don't care. The only thing is that I have to be careful when using the singleton, because there is a slight chance if you use it too early or outside, if I would use it in GameCore, for example, which is loaded before the engine is running. At that point, you might get an issue because this is null. But to be honest, I have not run into anything like that before. And I'm using this construction all the time. Now this was the shortest I can make this and keep it working. I wonder if... Singleton component base. I could override the constructor. Actually, that's not a bad idea, actually. Is it constructor in here too? No. Yeah. That's not... Is that a component? Really? Huh. I thought the constructor got the engine. So normally you don't do the constructors, but well, basically this is what I need to pass through the when the prefix the component only. You know, I have a better idea. I have a better idea, a way better idea that makes my whole life a whole lot easier. So I have this alternative one. I'm just not going to make it a singleton. Right? So now it's not a singleton anymore. And I basically just need to have the start and the spawn. Now I make this a singleton. I have a snippet where I can add that singleton stuff to the component, and now it's a singleton. Same way, same thing, but now the singleton is in this code and now it works. Done. Now we have two separate singletons. Now this can be instance again. Oh, there we go. Save. Fixed. Someday I would create the perfect singleton base class or make something different or... Maybe it can be something that is done by the engine itself. That's a default thing in a component or a singleton component variation. I don't know. I wonder how C# would do this. It sucks a bit that this instance, well, works that way. Well, let's see if this works. Maybe I'm spending the last half an hour trying to fix something that's not even an issue because it's something else. That would suck. A singleton keyword, yes. Well, let's close this for a second. So now we're up and running again. So now it just loads both. And both are different prefabs. So if we go in here, boom, we load the first one. Oh, they're both loaded already because otherwise we don't get here. True, true, so they get separate. Tile prefabs. If we look at the instance, and there is an object, and the name of this object now is tiles and not the other one. On top of the Wonderland. This white line. What's the white line? The menu bar. Or the title bar. Is that going to go away? A dark mode title bar. Oh. I'm not going to miss this one. I'm not going to miss this one. When was it implemented? I have the nightly running, but yes. I love dark mode. Okay. Let's get back. We took a detour again. So someday I will fix this prefabs issue. I would just do prefabs of T and then it should just work or something. Maybe I should go for a completely different thing and just go with what was I saying? Just go with a factory that the singleton class register itself with a factory, and if you want to have the singleton, you request it from the factory class, like proper inversion of control or something. I have been thinking about those kind of things, and there, at some point, I tried completely using MC, welcome. Yes, it's a it's a start. There's not much to build yet. We're basically working on the hexagon tile generation. And that's right now. This is it right now. It generates the world and then corrects some things so that the castle is always on a hill and those kind of things. But I want to make sure this whole thing is open source. So all this code should be open source and available to anyone. Actually, if you look in the description, what I'm doing is I create a branch before the stream, and at the end of the stream I push the changes. Unless something is not compiling or anything at the end of the stream, I might fix that last slight bit, but then I just push it to that branch. I merge it to the main branch, but I keep that stream branch. So if in the future someone would look at this stream and, well, needs to figure out something I did on the stream, because in 2 streams I can completely have modified something. But yeah, everything, this is just K-Kit, Hexagon, medieval spec, I think it is. But we're working on adding trees, and we just worked around an issue with the singletons of the prefabs, because I want to have a resource prefab. And now we have the resource prefab, we can go into our little generation class. Let's see where it is. Flatten the neighbors. Create grids. Yeah, so this is how it works right now. It's basically a few steps, and I want to go into refactoring this maybe even today, although it's 11 o'clock already. But it basically just creates a grid, and then it flattens the neighbors around the castle, and then it spawns in the rest. I want to refactor this and make this into nice steps. So basically what is happening is that we just go over all the tiles a couple of times. I thought I did something like that already, but I guess I didn't. So let's just move this out of the way. It's not the wave function collapse. It was just an idea. We're probably going to do that at some point, but I'm going to remove it for now. Also, yeah, add freeze. That's what we do now. So I think we just go and go over all the tiles. Now, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to have a tree on every tile. And I call this resource tree. So this is a tree. But what I wanted to do... So there is a noise function in here. I think it's in the expand. So this is using a noise function to get the heights. What I think would be funny or nice is that we have places where trees grow together. So maybe we can just copy this, and based on a value in here, we add a tree or a tree to a tile. Or what I was thinking of doing, and I started doing that already, is adding a tag to that tile that it should have a tree. And then in the last step where we render everything, we say, okay, does this tile have a tree? Then we render the tree. And then later we can improve on that and say, well, right, this has the tag tree, which means it has properties of tree. And then we can do stuff with that because different density of forest. And we need to have little people in our town cut down the trees to get the wood from the trees. Or maybe replant the trees as well. So let's go and do this. We have a position and we get a value. Now maybe this is a simplex noise, but I also have a Perlin noise. And it doesn't think I spelled Perlin right. I don't care. I think we're going to add 2 new properties. So we have the noise scale, but this is for the landscape. Let's just add a tree noise scale and a tree noise offset. And let's set this to 5 for now. So this is the tree noise scale, and on the Y the same thing. And now we say, well, if value is like this, we don't even spawn it yet. We say to the tile, add tag tree. So now, some tiles have a tree and some tiles don't. What we also need to check is that it's, well, it is grass and it should not be the castle. I think I just called it castle, right? Oh, building. No, that's not building castle. Castle, yeah. I don't like that these are just strings. I need to figure out a nicer way of doing that. But that's for later. So we just run through all the tiles. If it is grass and it's not a castle, we check the noise, and if the noise value is larger than half, we add a tree. Actually, the tree threshold. Can I just add this? No. Now it's a constant, and we can configure it later if we want. So now we add trees, and now we need to render the trees. So in the last step, we render the tiles. And when we added the tile, technically we should only have to check if it's water or empty. We should not even have to check the tag. On the other hand, when we need to refactor things, there could be stuff in the water. I want to add rocks, for example, as well. And rocks might be in the water at some point. Just rocks that stick just a bit out of the water. I don't know how we should get it, but maybe if we have buildings that go into the water, they cannot be placed on that or something. I don't know yet. So just let's just... I don't think there is any really big performance hit. So if tile has the tag tree, if tile has the tag tree, then we do the resource tree, set the position. I don't think that is how that should work. Also, we need to add one more closing thing. Set position world is also not correct because it needs to have this tile elevation. Right. And right now is just spawned into nothingness. It's fine. Just see if it works first. We lost the castle. Interesting. Oh, we lost even more. Because we have errors. So it could be an issue that I would like to solve at some point, which I have not done yet. And that's probably because this tree... I thought I called it resource tree. Oh, but it's not tile prefabs, it's the resource prefabs. There we go. Haha, we have forests. They are a bit small, to be honest, but compared to the castle, it's fine. I think this will be the scale of the game. This is just how the tiles are made. But we don't have a lot of forest, or small forest, and that's probably because this scale is pretty low. If we set this to 25, like the... Oh, funny. It's too big, because now we don't have a lot of forest, but now we have bigger patches of forest. And I think it's random, so if we refresh... We need to not hit the breakpoint. So the forests are so big. It's too big. Now it's pretty small again, but it could be fine. So in the Perlin noise, if the value gets above a half, then we get a forest. And it sounds about right, I think. We just don't get a lot of forests. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And I even think that with the creation and using that simplex noise, I added some code to fix that. Thank you. See, now we have trees. Still a half, yeah. So now this can be a bit bigger again. Or not, if it's bigger, we have bigger patches of forest. Wow. This adds so much already. Wow. I think the patches are too big still. I need to make this number smaller. Yeah, I think we can even raise the threshold a bit. Wow. Sorry, I'm amazed at my own creation. Yes, technically I should add shadows. But they get really jagged and weird. And I think that's because of the really big range I created for the camera. And I need to have that because I don't want to have only shadows in the middle part. So I had to set the shadow range to 250, otherwise I don't even have shadows. Oh. Well, in that case, I'm going to keep the shadow. I'm just going to keep the shadows for now. It looks better. I mean, this looks like a kingdom, right? Okay, I'm going to add. Now I'm in this. Now I want to make this better. I want to make this look beautiful. I want to make this beautiful. So we have this resort tree. And let's call this resource tree dense. Let's go in here and let's call this resource tree it sparse like this? Sparse. Because we have the large, and we have the medium, and we have the small. And the small are just a few trees. So let's just pick the small. Small, this one. Drop them in here. Now I reset the position when spawning things, so I'm going to change the material of this to the same material I'll use everywhere. So there's basically one material in the entire thing. It's weird. This is small, and this is large. But the small trees are larger than the... There's no scale, right? No. It's a small patch with larger trees. This kind of sucks because I wanted to have only a few trees. I can make these smaller, but then they're closer together as well. And what's medium then? I can use a single tree. And just add 3 single trees or something. I'm just going to use this for now. Dense and sparse. So I need to update the name here. So if the value is bigger than... Where was it? Resource tree. If it's bigger than... Attack tree. Resource tree. Dense. Now this is one of the places, so I've been talking about wave function collapse a couple of times. And this is one of the places, or one of the things I want to solve actually with the wave function collapse. I think. Because near the edge of the forest, often you see less trees and the forest get dense. So that could be something we could do there. Or near the water, for example, there could be less trees. If there's a beach, there could be less trees. Now, how am I going to add a second tag? Yeah. Let's test this theory first. So if it's larger than that, if the value is larger than the sparse threshold, I'm not sure why it's getting that sparse from. I didn't type any sparse in my code here. It's really interesting that it did that. I did dense, so it just assumed, I think. I was going to the config. So if it's above 5, it does the dense tree, and otherwise it does the sparse tree. No, it's the dense. And we do the sparse tree, and the same thing. No, it didn't automatically refresh. So the difference is very, very little, but there are all kinds of these sparse trees next to it. What we are going to do just is scale this down. Although I think I might reset the scaling, but so with the waveform collapse, I can say, well, this is a it has trees on this side and it has trees on this side, so this has to be in that formation, and this one has trees only on these two, so it has to be in that formation. So we can just have a tree line here or something. I'm going to do the tree, what's it called? Tree small? I did medium or did I do small? Small, let's do the medium too. I want to see if these look better than the small. Again, these are bigger. That's so weird. We do have some variation now. It's a big forest, but I even feel I need to switch them. Oh wait. Huh. They're not, because I switched them, the coordinates changed, so they're not on the right tile anymore. Yeah, I think this is better. I'm also going to do this 6 and this 5. So now we have a little bit less trees. And we have the high, we technically have lower trees near the edges, though the forest is a bit more dense. The trees are smaller. I think this looks cool. This is easy to work with. What's water plant? That might look weird if we just add those to the thing. Rock, single rock. We only have single rocks. What is this? See, this is too much if we add stuff like this randomly to the game. At this point. But I could dissect this. And just based on certain formations. If there's... So something I want to do is if we look at the map and... Well, it's not really in here, but if there's a high difference more than a certain value, we could add rocks here. Let's add a few rocks. So I do empty. We do resource rock. And I'm just moving this right here. And we have grass, road, water, rock, single, this one. Again, we pick the correct material. Now it's a rock. We can use the same noise, I think. We can say rock threshold. 0.1. Okay. So we add trees, but for now we're just going to do if the value is below you say rock. So what would happen now is that I can never, because I only run through this once, I can never have a tree and a rock in the same tile. Well, technically at some point this might be a thing I can do, but or more rocks, or I don't know. So else if title has a rock, then we do const rock is the resource rock. We set the rock position world and the elevation. Yes. Do we have rocks? I don't see any rocks. Did I save it? I think it should work. Maybe the value is too low. Or did I name it different? Resource rock. Resource rock, rock. Rock set position world, tile elevation. Yeah, it should work. For now, let's just test and fill everything that is not a tree with a rock. Aha. Oh, the rock is a bit smaller than I thought. It's a tiny rock, exactly in the middle of the... Let's add 2 more rocks. Rock A, rock B, and rock C. Let's set the material. Actually, I should add a temporary grass tile to here as well. Hack grass for reference. There. So this is this position. Now if I set this to the same position, this would be the size of the maybe just keep it at this for now. So now we have 3 rocks. Now if we refresh, see, this is already way different. Okay, let's lower the amount of rocks again. So I think the threshold is too low. Yeah, so now we have an occasional rock. And let's try something funny. Let's rotate them, but based on a specific value. Let's add a const. And call this orientations. This is an array of values, so we have 0. Now, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. But I was wondering if we should do degrees or radians. I'm lost. Where's my code? Where's my code? I could see it like that. So we have this rock. Now we say rock dot rotate. We could do degrees. And let's do local. Do I have that in my library? No, I don't. I think we can do this, and then we do this. Math stuff is the default, but I can do RNG dot get item, and I can give this an array, and now it would just return a random value from my array. Based on my RNG, and this RNG, I think, or did I do it differently? I think I made it so that the RNG was random. It was that at first, but now it isn't. It's fine. Everything is random anyway. So now we should have a random rotation on the rocks. Oh wait, this is weird. We have rocks and trees in the same tile. That means that something is off. I mean, I reset the... Oh, wait. Maybe the rotation is wrong? Now we rotate before we place. Not sure if it would matter, but... We don't have a lot of rocks yet. I think we should raise the threshold even more. I mean, half of it is tree, so... See, now the rocks are just rotated, but they're always rotated in one of 6 orientations, like the base tile is rotated. Maybe we should do the same thing with the trees. Not sure if it would look okay, but It's a very simple thing to implement. Now the trees are randomly rotated also, so there's more randomization. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at this for today. So we don't have the complete improved generator yet. But personally, I think this already looks really, really nice. So I'm going to end the stream. After the stream, I'm going to push my chain. Well, we can do that right now. Do we have another update? Probably not. So we add stuff, add tree and rocks, trees and rocks. Commit and push. That's it. So these are on the GitHub repo. Yeah. Oh. And I think that's it for today. The plan for now is to stream again on Thursday during lunch. And Theodore, well, thank you for joining. Yeah, you should check out the link to Wonderland in the description below. It's a pretty cool engine. I plan on doing a lunch stream this Thursday. But keep an eye out on notifications. I don't have a schedule yet. I'm just getting back into some streaming, so. Oh, you already purchased the course. Great. Well, good luck. And if you have questions, make sure to join the Discord as well. The Wonderland Discord. I think there is a link on the page. I'll hang out there as well. Yeah. Oh, done that too. Great. Well, with all that, I want to thank you all for joining, hanging out, and make sure to keep an eye out for the next time, for the next stream. Even the music stops, so it's a great moment to end the stream. Thanks everyone, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!